Good morning, everyone. Right, so thank you very much. Just want to give you a brief introduction of our company, who we are, what we do. You're already that height. So the first thing is our company's been around for 9 years. So started it obviously during the recession or austerity years, as it was called. And we've been loyal to our core sector, which is residential work, because it's been really sustainable throughout all these years. So it's been absolutely fantastic. Next slide, please. We've evolved. So over the last year, we've now become an online business. So we've given up our office. What we realised was that, you know, through probably the busiest time of our 9 years has been the last 18 months. So to service our clients, we've taken everything online. That means that we've evolved, as I've mentioned to you before, we use full 3D software, so all our meetings now are online. We can rotate our buildings to clients to show them exactly what they're going to get, you know, for you know, without going to their homes. And it's more dynamic, and it means that it's a bit more sustainable because we're not printing out drawings that are superseded as soon as we turn up at their house. So it's a great way to work. In doing so as well, it means that I've been able to employ people who are not based in the local area, but one of the guys is based over in Battersea. So, you know, we can find resources to help service the company, not based on geographic location, but more based on skill and ability. Next slide, please. So the team currently is obviously myself, guy called Nick has been with me for 3 years, and Vito, who's been with me for the last year, both fully qualified architects. And then we have a building technician, a guy called Ovi. Surname's as bad as mine. And basically the difference is he is he's an architectural technician. That means all they study and have skills in doing is the actual building construction area. So that's where we work with Medea and engineering to actually put the buildings together. So that's all his focus is. He doesn't design, he just works on the technical aspects. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned to you before, we offer fixed fee drawing packages. So that's to give all our clients certainty of cost certainty when they're starting with us. So based on the type of project, whether it's a loft conversion, a full house refurb or a new build, there are fixed fee drawing services. And from that, as I said, we then prepare nice 3D images and then the construction drawings. And then from that, you get your beautiful home. And we get a lovely testimonial as well from our clients. Next slide, please. So really, I just wanted to quickly explain the planning process. It seems very simple. People just think we draw. And there's a whole lot more to it than that. So firstly, there's a massive time issue with everything we do. And we're not just drawing, we are designing, okay? And the difference is we can all draw, right? We can all doodle. But to design is to actually work out a solution through those drawings, okay? So it's basically understanding how to put together all the elements to appease or create what the client wants, but also what the local authority wants. So once we're appointed, we undertake a survey. That's probably the only time we really meet the client face to face. And then from there, we need a good 4 weeks to actually prepare the design, prepare the images, and have the next meeting with the client. If all's well and good, we can then submit the application. It's a statutory 8 weeks. We have clients saying, can't you do it any faster? Well, no, it's statutory. That means it's not in our control, it's the local authority. So once we've gone through that and we've received the sign-off, then we get approval. Happy clients, okay? But what happens if we don't get that approval? Next slide, please. It's like Dante's hell, okay? It feels awful, okay? It feels like the worst thing ever, because you're thinking, why wasn't it approved? What's going to happen now? You know, do I have confidence in my architect? What are the next steps? So on to the next slide. We've got to go back into the planning process again. 2 options. We simply just resubmit, make amendments to the scheme, make it smaller, resubmit, wait another 8 weeks, or we call on the likes of Phil to help us with preparing what's called a planning statement, an appeal statement, which gets submitted to the planning inspectorate, national body, for them to be the final decision makers on your scheme. Now that takes 12 weeks. Okay, a lot of our clients say we want to be on site in the summer. Okay, so from now 6 months time. Well, if everything goes fine, it goes well, it's not a problem. But if not, then what will happen is, do you want to go back a slide? Right. Yeah. So what will happen is that we'll have to, we'll use this service if they're willing to wait, okay, to get the results they actually want. So that's the advantage of this, okay. Whereas this gives you more of a compromised scheme, okay. Next slide. So once we've got that, we then start on the construction drawings, okay. So this is where the likes of Ovi in my company gets involved. So we need to appoint the structural engineers, work with them to prepare the construction details. In order to do that, we have to say to the clients, there's no more changes to the scheme. Now we need to start working on that project. And just to clarify what Medea was saying, every steel beam has a knock-on effect to the next steel beam and on the structural calculation. So if you move a beam, it has an impact. That's why we want a design freeze, okay? So very simple, but it's difficult for clients to get that concept. So, we've got to stop there, make sure we can design the project, get the drawings out to the likes of Stoyan or Yeti. They will then price up the project. The client can then sign them up and get going. And again, we have a happy client. Okay, next slide. And these are just some projects to give you an idea of what we do based on the values. So this was a £120,000 project. Stoyan did this, and it was a loft conversion, which I believe was under permitted development. Large loft, and it created a single bedroom with walk-in wardrobe and ensuite as well. Lovely project. We did have problems with the neighbours. We did have to resubmit an application because there was an enforcement notice on it. Well, there wasn't an enforcement notice. It was just to placate the neighbours. Great project, £120,000 up in Barnet. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. Loft conversion. This is just to give you an idea of the different materials you can use. You don't have to use tiles. You can use zinc. You can use pressed aluminium. Gives you an amazing effect. If you want something a bit more architectural, a bit different from your standard tiles, then there are plenty of options we work with. All these materials are usable within the permitted development, so they're great choices. It gives you also something that stands out as well. The problem with tiles, by the way, people don't realise until they get loft conversion. When it's windy, all the tiles flap and all you hear is the banging. So it's really annoying. So for a bit more money, get yourself some pressed aluminium or zinc. Okay, next slide please. New builds. So we don't just work in London, said we work anywhere. This project was a new build house in Biggleswade, 3-bedroom house. We'd never worked in Biggleswade before. So, we engage with the local authority, we understand what the planning laws are, the local legislation. We got this permission first time round. Okay, next slide. Another new build house, £1 million value. This is using actually new building techniques. In fact, it was a company that Georgia Stiliano introduced me to, which is using a cold metal frame system. That actually the whole building is like a giant Meccano set, comes onto site, they literally turn up with spanners and ratchets and everything, put it all together, and then you clad it with a brick. And that's it actually being built right now. So it's looking like the drawings. Okay, next one. Not just houses, rooms or accommodation above existing retail. So this is in Hornsey, another £1 million project. It was refurb of all the flats above and the installation of a new penthouse, 4 new flats up there as well. So that was a great project. So as I said, we're not just dealing with small houses or little loft conversions going up to £1 million. Next slide. And just to finish off with the testimonial that we get from our clients, even though we had to deal with the planners and the enforcement team, we don't charge extra for that. We just get on and do it. Instead, it's a fixed fee service. Next slide. Again, another testimonial from another happy client about how we're more proactive than others in terms of understanding what the planning legislation is and what we do. Next slide. Why we stand out from our competitors: we've got a proven track record. We are proactive. We provide client support throughout the whole service. Next slide. And these are our ideal referrals for us: estate agents, homeowners, multiple homeowners, call them developers if you want. Large, not really large residential developers. We don't deal with like 20 houses or more. You know, that's not our bag. You know, it's not really where we are. And builders, fantastic referral. Because we get on well with builders, we're not adversarial. You know, they come back to us and, you know, pass on clients. Big mistake lots of people make: they call a builder and say, how much is this building going to cost? How much is this extension going to cost? And the builder will say, well, we don't know the size of the stills, we've got no drawings. Come back with the drawings and the design, and then we can give you a quote. Okay, so that's what we do. And also Facebook referrals from this team has been fantastic for us, so thank you very much.
Very good presentation, sir. Paul is actually an excellent squash player, and to aspire to get as many holidays Steve managers dream on. So it's going to happen. Run out of time, I always give some extra time for any questions, guys, if you have. Yeah, go for it.
For you, what part of the process do you actually enjoy the most when you take on a project?
I really enjoy the design aspects at the beginning because, as I said to you, it's not just drawing. It's all about how a building flows internally, how you get from your front door into your property, making sure that works, because you're going to live with that day in, day out. And if things aren't designed well, and even like kitchen designs, as Chris knows, you know, if you're like flowing, if your flow is like becomes a chore rather than something enjoyable, then you're not going to enjoy your home. So that aspect is really, really key, and we enjoy the finer elements of the design. You know, I am a people person. I know I'm impossible to get hold of on the phone. That's because I'm on the phone for too long with everybody. You know, I enjoy speaking to people. I enjoy that communication with everyone, and I think that's what really makes it special.
So ideally, in theory, from the moment the project is approved by Home Building Control,
yeah,
it freezes and it should be no alteration.
When it's yes, so basically when we engage with yourselves, you know, just to explain, we sit down with the clients and we say to them, right, what is the final layout? We need to get a fixed layout, because for the structural engineer, we need to know where those beams are, because once they've designed them, if you then now want to move things later on, there's going to be a cost involved, because they're going to have to recalculate all those stills. Okay, we say to them, yes, once you're on site, you can change things around. Okay, but for the purpose of getting a quote, you do need a fixed scheme. Okay, we need to stop at that point. Okay, so we try to build in the flexibility on the design as well, to allow our clients to have later thoughts, because not everybody can visualize things until it's built on site, and they want to like then make changes. Then, you know, I've got just to give you an example, I was 2 hours on the phone last night talking to a client as to why the structural engineer, it was Halstead's, had designed a 305 beam. It means nothing to anybody, but it's a 30 centimetre beam, and it's going to protrude below the ceiling. They're saying, why did they do that? Yeah, and it's like, well, you know, nobody realised at the time. Was there a design option? Could have been to put two stills together, bolt them together, but even that to support structurally is very, very difficult. Okay, you know, client, if they had the option though, they probably would have gone for that, because it would have given them a flush ceiling. Now we're going to have to lower the ceiling to make it flush. Yeah, the fact they've got a 2.7 metre high ceiling, which is pretty bloody big for a house, they're worried about losing 90 centimetres. It's like, you know, got to put it into perspective. The cost of the two stills is probably going to be 3 times as much as lowering the ceiling by 90 centimetres. Yeah.
90 centimetres.
90. Sorry, 90 millimetres. 9 centimetres. Yeah, yeah. No, I was looking at that. 9 centimetres, 90 millimetres.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you came up with an economic option.
Yeah.
And the other option is horrific.
Well, it is. But you know, at the time, people become very fixated on this. Why do I have to lower my ceilings? You know, they're lovely and so. It's like, well, by the time you put all your furniture in, by the time you put everything else in, you're not staring up at that ceiling thinking, blimey, that looks shorter than what I last remember it to be. You know.
Good. No more questions.
Yeah.
We're really now out of time.